when you look at what we're talking about here, it'd be a moot point if you didn't have China producing all the precursors and Mexican cartels being a distributor of them, and the fact that I think all Americans need to realize that fentanyl seizures at our southern border have gone up five times from 2020 to the present. So, Mr. Carroll, I want to focus on a few things so we understand better how this can happen when you've got a geopolitical competitor like China. You hear about precursors. Explain to us precursors. Are they used for a variety of legal drugs, or is the market primarily precursors being shipped to the main customer, Mexican cartels?
The problem is both precursors and pre-precursors. At the precursor level, there is the ability to understand exactly where they are going. And for the most part, the precursor chemicals that are coming from China to Mexico are completely unchecked, unregulated. The Mexican government is not following through to see where those precursors are going. Are they going to a legitimate facility for some purpose that is legitimate?
So, what percentage of precursors would be across the world being used as part of legal drug formulations? Just to get a feeling for how much of what the Chinese are doing, is aimed at an illicit use. Is there any?
I would submit that there's very little legitimate use of the immediate precursors to making for
so that then
fentanyl.
is a blatant kind of trafficking of something that is essential, and the fact that's gone up five times in just 3 years, that's where it all begins, correct?
That's where it begins. That's the blatant problem, that we're not holding Mexico accountable for keeping track of the precursor chemicals coming into that
What
country.
about China's responsibility, the Chinese Communist Party, for being in an enterprise where they would know that this is going to end up on American streets? I can see why the cartels are interested in it, because they've had a track record of doing stuff over many years that would be illicit in many different ways. But China would have to know as well that these precursors, when they go to Mexico, are nearly 100% being used to produce fentanyl.
I have no doubt that they know that the precursors are being sent from their country to Mexico.
Well, that is a tragedy, and it is also, when you look at the fact that it was gone up five times in 3 years, that ought to be an eye-opener to Americans across the country about what open borders have done in terms of creating something where we're losing 100,000 Americans annually. And I just want to make sure that connection is clear and it's not confusing. The Chinese Communist Party knows what it's doing. The cartels lap it up because they know how much money they've been making off of it. So it's basically a two-entity enterprise, China making it and the cartels distributing it.
China is not a democracy. They ended the primordial shipment of fentanyl to the U.S. when I led the White House delegation there. It ended almost overnight. They could end it if they wanted to, the shipment of precursors to Mexico, but they're not.
It begs another question. Any other countries making fentanyl precursors?
In an unclassified setting, the answer is yes, but only to a very small degree at this point.
That's what I thought. So they are a monopoly on the fentanyl precursor market, and it's aimed at us. Another point, recently illegal crossings have gone up to roughly 200,000 a month. There's a new category called gotaways that we never even talked about back during the Trump administration. The border policies that we've had, is there any way you can say that it hasn't been part and parcel the third factor that has taken the crisis to where it is?
God bless the men and women of CBP on our border who are trying to do everything that they can. The patch on their sleeve says border protection, and that's what they want to do. Sadly, they're being exploited. They're sending family units over, children over. They're being distracted, and a mile down, the cartels are sending drugs over.
One other quick question with as quick an answer as you can give. I'm slightly over my time. Is there any other dynamic in the world that's got a state being a drug trafficker like Mexico would be, with China evidently has got the market cornered on fentanyl precursors? In your awareness, does any other country suffer from what we do that has this same type of problem?
Not to the extent. China is the drug dealer of the world.
It ought to be clear in both cases then. Chinese Communist Party using Mexican cartels, and we are the brunt of it. Something's got to give. Thank you.